And that Fool's Day prank is where we begin our conversation this evening with Gabriel Mudhuma, who's joining us on Zoom. Gabriel, good evening. Good to see you. How are you?
Linda, good evening and happy Easter.
You guys have decided you're not going to come to the studio anytime soon, right?
We shall very soon. Probably next Sunday we'll be with you.
Okay,
right now we continue observing the protocols.
Perfect. We also have Ambrose Weda, who is still in Kisumu. Wakili, good evening.
Good evening, Linda. How are you doing?
I'm good. You have also decided not to show up in the studio, right?
We are up and about, but I think we are connecting, and that is the main thing. We are going the CNN way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be a good thing. Weda, let me begin with you with that story that was done by Murimi Mwangi on the April Fool's prank that was carried out by ODM. Talk to me about your sentiments on it. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I don't think it was an April Fool's Day. I think the people at the party, they are playing small games. They are like playing toys on matters, serious politics. First of all, I don't think it is time to be applying for whether or not there will be presidential candidates for ODM or forever. So thinking that people have applied and then the Honorable Raila will apply, let's get this clear. ODM is Raila and Raila is ODM. Anytime he wants to run for president, there is no question about it. Whether there's application or there's a deadline or there's no deadline, unless it's the one who has been consulted and he has said, set a deadline for this day. Otherwise, when you take Chairman Badi, you take my younger brother Sifuna, then they're just playing like you'd play with the toys at home. It is not time to play that game. The game will be after BBI has been passed. If at all the court does not strike it down, it will also be after we have realized the end game of the handshake. Otherwise, what they are doing now is just like a distraction. They call it April Fool's Day or May Fool's Day or March Fool's Day. They should stop it because they are creating unnecessary anxiety, embarrassing Baba in such a way that if even those of us who are outside, we feel very sad. They should not do that.
You're saying they're playing games to what end?
I think they want to heighten tension. They want to know, you know, there are people whose politics hang on whether or not Baba is on the ballot. If Baba was to decide he'll not be on the ballot, heads will roll. There are so many people who lose. They'll just lose like that. Some will just go home. So they want to be sure early enough so that the people who remove them feel either disinterested or not scared or not ready. So it is to make the base the inner politician. Politicians like Mbadi, I think they want to be in, and their being in depends highly on Baba. There are some of them who want to be governors from Senate or from wherever. They want to know the direction. And this also comes when you see that Baba's footsteps are faltering. There's some kind of slowness. And I said, and I keep on repeating, Baba is 70-something years old. He has been in and out of hospital, and that will play a critical role because we are not going to have a Baba of 207 or a Baba of 213. We are going to have a slightly more frail, tired, older Baba. He may not even also be on the run, especially if they were to disagree with President Uhuru.
Mudhuma, what are your thoughts? It was an April Fool's Day. Weda seems not to think so. He said, I mean, these are games that are being played by certain individuals within the party.
Well, neither do I. I don't think it was a prank, and I think it's actually quite disingenuous for anybody to say it was a prank.
I mean, the SG himself,
Linda, early this year, Raila himself, while in Mombasa, is the one who actually invited applicants to start, submitting in their names. And Joho did it while in Mombasa. He actually said it while he shared a stage with Raila Odinga himself. And so Oparanya, followed suit. I mean, this was something that ODM invited applicants and told them that they'll be vetted and then they'll be cleared. So whether it happens now, whether they say it's a prank, sooner or later the chickens are going to come home to roost. And I can tell you categorically, I know Weda does not believe in this, but I can tell you categorically, health notwithstanding, unless something, critical really happens, I think Baba is in the ballot. and he's there actually to stay. And like one of your interviewers earlier on said, you can expect probably to see Baba, if his health holds up, you can expect to see him in 2022 or probably in come 2027. So I think that this is not something that I think we should, spend a lot of time trying to decipher politically. But because, I mean, all roads are leading to the fact that Honorable Raila Odinga will be at the ballot come 2022.
Muduma, at what point do you think, perhaps, if at all, Raila Odinga should actually declare interest, if at all he's interested? Because there are those who seem to think that ODM is right now keeping all its cards very close to its chest and just hoping and waiting out on how the politics of the country will play out.
Linda, whether you look at ODM now, whether you look at NASA the previous years, Baba is always someone who comes in late. You remember he actually took everybody for the wild goose chase before saying that he will run with a NASA ticket. We kept guessing who would be the NASA flag bearer, and eventually Raila came out late. Same thing that happened earlier also in 2013. So Baba has always done this. It's not the first time. I don't expect it to be the last. He always comes in late. But most of the time, even when he comes in late, the guess is people who really, many people, political pundits, most people usually guess it right, that it will be Baba who will, take over the mantle to, to be the flag bearer of ODM or the coalition that ODM will get or will merge with. So, but I don't think, Linda, we can also pick a time. No, Baba has mastered that political game, and he has mastered it quite well. He waits until the last minute, and it's historic. Historically, we've seen it. Whether you choose to look at it in 2013 or 2017, Baba has always come in late.
There are those who seem to think that perhaps the back and forth that we witnessed with Raila's candidature for 2022 general election and him being a candidate had something to do with the handshake. There are those who seem to think that perhaps the withdrawal and the sentiments of Edwin Sifuna, the SG, had something to do with the handshake, in that if Raila was to declare his interest in 2022, then it would put the handshake in an awkward place.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with the handshake. I think the people at the ODM secretariat are just being boys and girls. Allow me to use that word. They are not maturing up. They are not mature up. After Professor Nyong'o left that position, these people, I think they have included jokes. If you look today, we are talking today, 3rd or 4th of April. Is it time to be calling for candidates for presidential, parliamentary? Is it really time? We are talking about a major constitutional amendment just in the offing. We have a major pandemic that has closed political gatherings. We have monumental issues. And then we have presidential transition. And we have a year plus for these elections. So would you be calling for candidates today? We want to see these candidates. We expect Honorable to apply. He didn't apply. That was an April Fool's Day. I think it has nothing to do with the handshake. It has everything to do with the goof. They are goofing and they goofed. And they are trying now to clean it. They have embarrassed Honorable Raila. They continue to embarrass him because they are amateurish in their approach to national issues. My younger brother, my younger brother Sifuna Wakili, has a lot to learn before he knows the intrigues of politics. I don't think President Uhuru, a partner in the handshake, would have any problem with Honorable Raila saying I'm a presidential candidate for my party, or not a presidential candidate. But for now, it would bring in tensions. So these people have realized they have embarrassed Baba, and they are doing so at a time when Baba has also suffered some ill health. He needs time to heal. He needs time to come back to his full health, and we continue joining in prayers for him for full recovery. So seeing him, having come from Mosul, yes, and then you say, oh, Baba did not apply for this thing, or Baba applied. Surely that is a joke. Some of these young men and ladies, sorry to use these words, they need to be taught. They need to attend a seminar where they are lectured by old guards like Professor Nyong'o and the rest, so that they understand. Otherwise, such embarrassments would also cause unnecessary tension in the country. It has nothing to do with the handshake or President Uhuru.
And now that you're talking about tension, Mudhuma, excuse me, the last couple of days we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta drive himself, from the information that we have, to ODM leaders Raila Odinga's home in Karen. They had a conversation. The next day, the two of them were going through town, just inspecting a couple of projects. And that was just right after we had, remember last weekend we were having a conversation about the tension between the two, and Weda kept saying, look, Uhuru Kenyatta and the people around him will do everything to make sure Raila stays in their fold. So we're seeing Uhuru Kenyatta reaching out to Raila Odinga and just having a conversation with him, and the next day the two of them go out to have this, to inspect development projects. What comes to mind, and what do you think was discussed in this particular meeting between the two?
Well, Linda, if you, I think, and this probably is what the president has done, if you borrow a leaf from what Martin Luther King Jr. tells us, is that a genuine leader is not the searcher or the one who searches for consensus. Is the one who builds consensus. He goes out to look for people to build and gauge and harness consensus. And I think that is what the president, is doing. And if you go further on, Gandhi also teaches us that, leadership is not about muscle anymore. It could have been back in the day, but nowadays, leadership is about looking for people and ways for people to get along. That is according to Gandhi. So I think we were treated, to some area that were a little bit rough. And we even saw ODM to an extent, some of people who are allied to Baba starting to speak up. And they actually did not like how BBI was going. In fact, at one point, they started chastising an officer who actually works, the PS who works at Harambee House. And they were saying he's actually not directing BBI to the paths where they would have liked. And I believe probably if that was the meeting that the two leaders sat to discuss, then I believe they were ironing things out. On this one, I'll still go back to what Gandhi said about getting people to get along, having that spirit of engaging and bringing people to have consensus, to build consensus. You may remember, Linda, if I may just take you a little bit further behind, when President Uhuru and Deputy President William Ruto came up with what is called as the Big Four agenda, many leaders did not even care what that was. But along the way, they started building consensus. They started looking for people to have a buy-in into the Big Four. And sooner, leaders, governors, they started understanding what the Big Four agenda was and also how it paved the way to Agenda 3. So I think the meeting that we saw last week, and Baba had just come out of hospital, and we could even see that his health was not, back to where it should be. But the fact that he also was gracious enough to join the president to go and look around at some of the developments that are going on in the country, really, gave that feeling of the president is really trying to forge ways of getting along with everybody. So I think if that is the testament that we are seeing, then we can expect good things to go, ahead, given the very fact that the president told us earlier on when he started reaching out to Baba, the handshake, the original handshake, that among the key things that he was worried about and the thing that he wanted to change was the rhythmic tension that comes after every year. And that meant that he had to bring in new partners who actually were part and parcel of the election and the kind of uncertainty and the skirmishes that we saw. And he built onto that, and honestly, we have to give it a kudos, because we've experienced some element of peace and tranquility, and COVID notwithstanding, things were actually moving in the right direction. So I think the element of trying to reach out is what I would really place my hand onto more than anything else politically, because really at this point, the president is really juggling a lot, trying to keep everybody talking and trying to keep everybody in tune. You've seen how he's dealt with, you've seen how he's dealt with Musalia, you've seen how he's dealt with Kalonzo, you've seen how he's dealt with Rotangula and everybody else. So I think if that is the reasoning behind going and seeing Baba and sitting down, it's just to assure him, at the end of the day, we are going in the right direction.
Is it about whether, is it about, and you're talking about the meeting between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga this past week, is it about getting everyone in your corner, or is it about taming tension? And you're on record on this particular show saying, look, it's in the interest of President Uhuru Kenyatta to make sure Raila is in his corner.
Linda, you need to look at President Uhuru and understand him very well. President Uhuru is a very charming, free and down-to-earth human being. You can walk into any kiosk and you will laugh all over and eat motora and think. And he's a businessman. He knows how to run these things like business. He is also a person who does not seem to reflect or demonstrate grudges. So he has also worked with Idnis, he has seen, he understands Tinga very well. I know he calls on Raila Tinga, and we call him Baba. Now, having had exchanges where some people like Mbadi and the rest are saying they can work with Sir William Ruto, the chief chicken seller, and things seem to be tension, to generate into tension. It therefore was incumbent on President Uhuru to actually take the public back and to take back charge. How do you take back charge? He learned from Moi. You go into the boss's own home, Baba's own home. Remember Moi and Nyachai? When Nyachai had left, may God rest his soul in eternal peace, when he had left government and they disagreed with President Moi, and Moi wanted him back for elections in 1992 and so on. It is said President Moi flew right into Honorable Nyachai's home. They had tea, and you know where mamas are involved, things are different. So this is exactly what President Uhuru is doing. He goes in, goes over to see a Tinga, they chat, they have coffee, they talk, and then he invites him to say, let's show the public that we are more mature, we are together, we are closer. And that brings Tinga closer. As I told you, nobody, the president or the team is not going to let Baba anywhere far until after BBI. And even after BBI, the president, I don't think, plans to betray anybody. It is these other charlatans around the prime minister who are bringing stories. Oh, I heard Tinga was talking to William Ruto, he was doing this. But otherwise, I know that the president is looking for a situation where BBI is passed, and then all these people coalesce around power. Maybe to the exclusion of the deputy president, whom they will have no problem if he was to become chief opposition leader, also with the powers and the vehicles and bodyguards and everything and offices. That is what the president is looking at. So in this arrangement, nobody is going to let Baba go. Whether he tries to fight, he will be cajoled. We will sing, we will pray, as we also continue to pray for him to recover. And we want a Kenya which is peaceful. And I'm telling you, where Tinga is peaceful, there will be peace. If Tinga is unhappy and is yelling, there will be trouble.
Okay, so just listening to you, this meeting, from where you sit, it was out of necessity. It was not out of mutual consent. We are friends, let's do this together. We have a country to run. And that brings me to my next point. Is there trust between these two leaders, from where you sit?
Linda, you don't need trust. It is whether it is convenient and necessary. The end justifies the means. President Uhuru wanted and has already achieved to some extent stability, peace. And you have seen when Tinga is quiet and cooperating, the country is fairly stable. Now that has been achieved. So it has nothing to do with mutual trust, friendship, love, laughter. It is about, are we able to communicate? Can we reach each other? Can we pick up a call? You remember also in this same program, when Tinga was saying, his teams were saying, they have talked to the deputy president, they can work with him, when Orengo was saying, and Honorable Odinga also passing through Masai Mara forest, started yelling things. And remember I said, this is something small that Honorable Raila Odinga would have just picked a call, and he would call the son of Jomo, and on some Matura and something hot, they would talk these things. I think this is what came up. When he went to see Tinga, they had something hot, although Tinga was unwell, so he could not have taken something hot. But Mama was there to, they smile and they talk, and then they say, let's show the world that we are together. So it has nothing to do with trust. It has everything to do with what do we want to achieve. what is the vision? How do I achieve it? Remember, these are businessmen. President Uhuru is a businessman, Honorable Odinga is a businessman, and they are consummate politicians. And they seem to have one common enemy called Sir William Samoei Arap Ruto, the chicken seller. They fear him. So anytime they want to part, Ruto is threatening to take over government through the Hustler movement. So they will do everything. So they are also put together. It has nothing to do with, oh, must we trust one another? They don't need to trust one another. They just need to focus on the price.
Muduma?
Well, in my view, I think, Linda, what I've been able to observe is that, the president really wants, and I think he means it, he really wants to leave a peaceful and a united Kenya. Even though that largely may depend on the coalitions that may come and their political atmosphere during the election, during the campaigns, he has made his mark known that that is what he wants to leave, a place or a Kenya that is peaceful. You have also seen he's tried to steer even the party, Jubilee, from discussing things or taking actions that are kinda really discredit or bringing down the person of his deputy president, William Ruto. You remember there was discussions. Really? Yes, you remember there was discussions, oh, we'll kick him out of the party. What happened? We were told the president intervened. We were told he'll be kicked out of his official residence. Guess what? The president intervened. He does not want, and I believe at this point, he really does not want unnecessary political noise coming from any corner. And, for him to mold the consensus that he's looking for, he has to ensure that what he wants himself and the kind of legacy that he wants to leave is intact. It has to reflect what he wants to achieve. And if that means you need to stop some people who feel that you should move in a certain direction, the people who probably are pointing you to do radical things, and you do not feel as if they are going to contribute to your end result. So I would honestly believe that he has taken time to reflect, and he has seen this does not make sense. And it not only does not make sense, it's not of any political relevance. Remember, Linda, I have told you time and again that where the president sits, he has a bird's eye view of not only the entire country, but sometimes to a high extent the political. And so you have to give it to him when sometimes he's not hasty in some of the decisions that probably his advisors or people within the Jubilee fraternity are pushing him to do. It is because most of the time I always remind people, it's most of the time he has the intelligence that me and you do not have. So I think he means well when he started out by saying that he wants to leave a united and a peaceful country. But I can tell you that will largely depend on when we start our campaigns and how the mood will be. I would also probably want to remind Wenda, we are not that far. Up until when the political rallies were stopped, we were actually marching towards the campaigns of 2022. And guess what? We are in April. May, June, July, we get to August. That's 4 months. And 1 year left to the elections. I can guarantee you, Linda, this is historic. We've always seen the campaigns, people starting to, organize themselves. As a matter of fact, it is almost around the same time when the civil servants who want to be in politics are told, guys, this is the high time you send in your resignation. So I think we are not far off removed from the deep core campaigns of 2022. But in general, I think to really answer your question in simplicity, Linda, I think the president has actually been able to see something that most of us are not seeing. And that's why he's brought everybody close, whether that is, or whether there's a game plan towards the succession of 2022, we may not know at this point, but he's trying to keep everybody close to what he's doing at this point.
Okay. Weda, I want us to focus our attention on President Uhuru Kenyatta and his actions in the last couple of months, and you've alluded to some. He's reaching out to Raila Odinga. He's reaching out to leaders in different political outfits. You're saying Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula, Gideon Moi, all they all look like they're in the same camp. They call for meetings with the president, and they have these meetings. It almost seems like there's zero opposition in the country, and you have a president who most people seem to say and think that Uhuru Kenyatta is actually in charge of the political chessboard right now. How would you place him, Weda? Okay, Weda, hold on. Let me see if we can try and fix your mic. Muduma, that question comes right back to you.
Well, the truth of the matter is, Linda, as you've called it, right now he is, like I told you about the bird's eye view, he has that bird's eye view, but also he's been able to move the right figures on the chessboard. And again, from where we are seated, we can see, I mean, if peace were the precursor of what we are seeing, peace has already been attained. Now, we have to see what other programs the president wants to deliver according to his agenda. Remember what I told you about the Big Four, which I believe he really means it. And every time he talks
he has
about
less than
succession,
a year to implement this.
Listen, Linda, let me tell you, let me take you back. I told you last time, I think it's almost a month or two ago, I told you when you have something like the Big Four, which shapes our national agenda, a game changer, so to speak, in the next 10, 20, 30 years, you will have a serious succession plan. It is just a given, because you want to ensure that this national agenda is sieved through and through to the next administrations. Every other leader coming in must see relevance in the Big Four agenda. And probably that is why I told you he may be himself the vanguard of the Big Four agenda. But trust me, the Big Four agenda will not stop with His Excellency the President. And probably that's why he's trying to move the chessboards and all the figures within the chessboard to try and align the Big Four agenda with the next leader coming in. Remember, just the other day, the Deputy President himself kept saying that the person, ideally, who is right to continue managing the process of the Big Four was him, because he started those Big Four agendas with the president. So when you sit down and you look at that chessboard that you're talking about, the political chessboard, I would definitely believe that key among them is how the president will continue with his Big Four agenda even after he leaves office. Listen, any self-respecting leader, whether, I told you, whether you're looking at Lee Kuan Yew, whether you're looking at Chairman Mao, whether you're looking at the great, whether even Obama, whether you're looking at the people who've made a serious mark in policy, they have always tried their very best to identify somebody who is quite knowledgeable and in tune with their legacies. Whether you go back to even South Africa, you look at Nelson Mandela. What was his main idea when he was giving out? He wanted to bring somebody in who would continue with the element of putting South Africa together with forgiveness and what have you. That is why it was paramount for him, after he became the president, who did he reach out to? De Klerk. So that just goes on to tell you that when you're in such a position, when you have a bird's eye view, this is not just about pushing the figures on the chessboard. It is also about the well-being of a country. It also sees through with how you're going to leave your legacy, and in particular, how you are going to manage or have all those things managed, that particular legacy managed after you leave office.
Weda, I'm hoping you can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. So Muduma says it's about the legacy that President Uhuru Kenyatta wants to leave behind. And just before we had issues with the sound, I did mention that there are those who seem to think that President Uhuru Kenyatta is finally in charge. But my question would be, what do you think, from where you sit, is his endgame? Because, one, clearly when you look around the country, there's almost zero opposition. And then two, this is a leader who has played hardball against the deputy president, who they're not really in good working relationship right now. But then he's still keeping him there. So what do you think his endgame is?
First of all, he's not keeping him. If he had a chance to remove him, he would remove him. But the Constitution keeps the deputy president there, and the numbers that the deputy president also has. Then, so if he was like he had been like the previous constitutional regime, he would have long replaced him, because those who are fighting him, the president, the deputy president, not the deputy, the former prime minister, all these people have ganged against him. So they would have removed him. He is just there by virtue of the Constitution. But I really don't think it is about the legacy.
What is it about?
It is about the future. The president wants a fairly more stable country. That is why there's need to collect all these other people, collect them and bring them into the eating table so that they are all quiet. There's also the element, where is the president going? Atwoli tells you he's young. He's a young president.
But the
so
president,
where is he going? That is also part of the question.
Whether the president himself is on record saying, mimi nitaenda nyumbani. Mimi sikai hapa, hii tamu yangu ikiisha nitaenda.
Yeah, he's also saying, I'll put lockdown, and then he goes to Kwamaiko to address wananchi. Those are two things. There are things that people say, and then there are moves that people make. You watch, you observe, then you say, what exactly? You listen to what Atwoli is saying at times, you listen to what Murade is saying at times, sometimes you listen to what Odinga is saying at times, and then you read. So when you gather, it is about stability. Stability here means Raila must be taken care of, Kalunzu must be taken care of, Mudavadi must be taken care of, and for all time's sake, Gideon Moi Doctari has also to be secured in some way. Remember, the last time he was left on his own, the chief chicken seller almost chewed him. He had to be rescued by the president. Something had to be done to ensure there's no candidate against him. Otherwise, one time Tinga failed him, Ruto tried to fall him, and you know, for all time's sake, Gideon has to be secure. So all these things have to be taken into account. That is why BBI is coming in. And in the BBI, ask yourself, why do you think the president wants to exclusively control Jubilee Party? Is it for the sake of merging with another party? Or what is it? And what is the future? I am telling you, the president will not just go home like that. Just like that. Please read my lips. Not just like that. Atwoli says he's young, and I'm now telling you he's young. So it is about the stability of the country. Legacy, well, that will be part of legacy of peace and stability. But above all, is about the future of these leaders. You have seen that Tinga is now quiet and in government and has motorcade and all these things, that the president visits him and so on. And we have relative quiet, even if things are not so good. But when things were very good and Tinga was making noise, there are things which could not move.
Whether.
So looking at it, that stability will be a plus.
Okay. It's interesting.
But the president is not going home the way you think. Please.
Okay, listen. It's interesting that you mentioned that the president is looking for the unity of this country. Then one would also ask that perhaps in the interest of that unity, he should also involve his deputy president.
Well, the deputy president chose the path of the hustler versus the dynasties. That is a very threatening angle to take, especially in a country that has been led by the dynastics. Remember, President Honorable Raila Odinga, his father was vice president. Remember, the president, his father was president. Remember, Mudavadi, his father was cabinet minister. The only hustler maybe there is Kalonzo Musyoka, but he's been there long. So when you threaten these people and you threaten to throw them with the bathwater, they gang up. That, I think, and then now with that, enmity has come in between them, bringing in a lot of fear that if he was to come in there, people will kick around. So that puts the dynasties together against the hustler. We had, personally, I'm one of the people who said, my president goes slow on this. Don't fight this man so much. He may be president one day. He may whatever. But now it is too late in the day. And it may end up being that one of the things that the president will look back and say, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have fought my brother like this. I should have just rearranged the Kenyan politics without necessarily kicking the deputy around.
Mudhuma, just listening into what Weda is saying, he seems to think that, and when he was talking about Jubilee, and he asked, I mean, why do you think the president is trying to control Jubilee? And you've seen him bringing in leaders from different political parties. From where you sit, why is President Uhuru Kenyatta consolidating power? Does it have something to do with what Weda is saying, that perhaps at the end of 2022, he's not going to go anywhere?
Well, first of all, I don't believe it. I think I really take the words of His Excellency the President to heart when he says that come 2022 he's going home. You see, Linda, there's something we don't appreciate, and I think this is through our years as Africans and what we've been treated when you talk about leaders who actually call themselves presidents for life and what have you. So we've always put something in our back burner that we don't believe when somebody says, you know, come the end of my tenure, constitutionally, I have no option than go home. We saw Kibaki do. Moi, after the new constitution, had no option than go home. And I also believe when the time comes, the president has said not once, not twice, that he's going home. Linda, the thing I'm saying we do not appreciate much is the fact that we don't believe that there's something called leadership fatigue, but it's there, and it's really, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy waking up every day and taking care of millions of people. That is why in leadership you are told, do your best. And when the time comes, you exit with grace and honor. And you look back and say, I did my best. And when the testaments are read historically by the children who are in school and thereafter, they will say that the president who we had was able to develop this country to heights that this nation, that particular moment, society will be grateful for. So I totally believe that when the president says that his time is coming up, and when he does, he will go home, I have no any other way to mistrust what he says, because he has said it more than once. So whether he's building Jubilee or whether people think that he's lining his ducks in a row so that he can come in other positions, I doubt it. And when I see people talk about, oh, so-and-so is young to retire, the president himself does not even like that language. All right. And I've seen tapes where people are, praising him and saying he's young to retire. Listen, he actually chastised them for saying that. You know, as a leader, the first thing you must respect is the Constitution, all right? And if we go by that element of respect, then what is written therein comes to pass, you must respect it. So honestly, I disagree with Weda. We have a lot of leaders in Kenya. The president has done his best. If he only now pushes his legacy of the Big Four agenda to make sure that it is anchored in a way that any other administration coming in will see its relevance, which it does, because to me, I still believe the Big Four agenda is a game changer for this country and development agenda that this country so badly needs. If it is left in good hands, let me tell you what, Linda, for many years to come, we shall be reading about President Uhuru Kenyatta in our history books. We'll be praising our children, our great-great-children will be praising him for the kind of journey he will have started. So I think in reality, I still am not among, in later terms, I'm not among the people who believe that he's arranging or rearranging or engineering our politics so that in the future he can become a certain leader. I do not see it. I don't think he's that kind of a person who is, looking to extend his term in any way, shape, or form. I don't see it, and I don't believe it, not a second.
Mudhuma, yes or no? Is the president in charge?
Right now, he's in charge.
Good.
Right now, he's in charge, and you can tell he's in charge because, like I told you, whatever he wants to achieve, he's actually getting it done, right? So I think at this point, he's in charge. I have not seen any place where really he has not been able to achieve that which he set out to do. If you look at most of the programs that he has initiated, all of them are in line. So I think coming to 2022, I believe he will be in charge if he continues what I told you earlier on, getting and molding consensus. That is the key word.
Whether Muduma seems to think the president is in charge, and if he gets it right, then there will be a lot of congratulatory messages and celebration when his name will be mentioned in the future. Do you think he's in charge? And as you answer that, I'd like to get your reaction as well on the diplomatic part between Kenya and the United Kingdom in 2 minutes.
Thank you. I think when you say in charge, you have to say it depends on what you are talking about. Like, he's not in charge of the deputy president and those who support the deputy president. He's in charge of government. We elected him to be in charge of government. That he works. But he's also not in charge of the transition. There are still many wild cards that have to be sorted out. You have to cajole Honorable Raila to the end. You have then also to bring people to believe in this other alliance and then to disbelieve the deputy president. So there are still a lot of wild cards. So that congratulatory message we are talking about will not be until the end you see it come. He's not also in charge whether he will leave office or he will merge, Jubilee will merge with ODM and he becomes prime minister, Raila becomes president or somebody else, or Mudavadi becomes president, and there's still so many loose ends, so many wild cards, that when you are talking about in charge, I cannot say he's in charge of government. He can hire and fire. He is in charge of policy, cabinet, his word is law when he talks on those. But in the political scene, no. He is not even in charge of quite a number of things. So let's not be too general. On the spot with the
Kenya and the United Kingdom.
The Britons. I think Britons are also joking around with us. I agree with my president, although we are small. But Corona has hit all of us. And making us to look so bad, yet they are also as bad as us. There's need for some feeble reaction. So I agree with what our country did. We have to do that. But let's not be stiff-necked. We are too small and too fragile. Britain can kick us and we'll go and cry in the toilet. So after we have done what we have done, let us send a delegation to go and talk to them, and then we come back to our normal. They are our big brothers. They have been very good and kind to us. And let's not forget that just because they of this red listing. It is bad, but let's be careful. When you are small, you must be very careful.
Muduma.
I go back to what Weda has said. I know he probably does not like when I generalize that the president is in charge. But the fact remains that, yes, as far as government is concerned, the president is in charge. Obviously, there are other things that we don't expect him to be in charge, like when he says about he's not in charge of Deputy President William Ruto, he's not in charge of the person of Honorable Raila Odinga and the rest. That is very true. Indeed, it's very true, because he's not in charge of how they want to run their affairs. And by the way, how they run their affairs is guaranteed by the Constitution. So I think on that one, well, probably me and Weda can soften the stance. But again, our diplomatic row with the UK, I think this is something that, again, needs to be handled with a lot of care. True to the fact is we are doing a lot of business. Just the other day, we signed an agreement, a trade agreement, an FTA with the UK. Most of the pharmaceuticals that we get from this, in this country actually come from the UK. Medical devices come from the UK. And as much as we are talking for a mutual kind of respect, we have to also realize that what the UK did was actually put Kenya among the list of 38 countries. Pakistan, Dubai, and Qatar being among them. And you may also remember, even ourselves, at one point, we actually had to close our borders and give restrictions to some countries. So I think this is more or less something that is seen in diplomatic circles. But how we handle it will also, mean or we also actually put face out there. How do we then again, after all is said and done, how do we continue with our relationship? Because at the end of the day, we need those vaccines. And if those vaccines are coming from them, we need to find a better way to kind of, tell them, hey, guys, we are still your trading partners, even though it is correct they are not our main trading partners. Our main trading partners remain to be Uganda and Tanzania, but still we cannot allow that diplomatic row to really be strained. I think at some point we need to come into it with a lot of sobriety, knowing fully well that, Linda, if we are to be honest with one another, it's a challenging time. It's a challenging period for everybody. Britain, everybody, and you can see probably they are saying, we need to protect our population, and also Kenya. At one point, we said we also need to protect our population. So I think we need to be mindful as we move along. And I know, like Weda is saying, sooner or later, maybe after all is said and done, there's a team that will be sent to the UK to just calm things down. But again, what is the work of diplomacy? It is. Coming to a platform where you can, engage and understand one another. We've seen this thing. It's not the first time it's happening to Kenya, and it's not the first time it's happening to the UK. So I believe someday soon, I think that row will be sorted out.
Let's see how it goes, and that's a perfect place to end this conversation. Ambrose Weda, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Kisumu, and Gabriel Mudhuma as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for always being part of Checkpoint. I hope to see you next Sunday. To our viewers, thank you so much for watching Checkpoint. I'm Linda OGUTU. Have a good evening and indeed a great week ahead.